If you're joining us today, you're probably joining us because you wanted to meet Shawn Rodeback. No, I'm kidding. You're joining us today because you probably have questions about floor and upholstery cleaning. Now, if you have a floor, oh, wait, we all have floors, don't we? The essence of cleaning. It all lands up on the floor. Okay, so how do we keep our floors clean? Now, today we are streaming to the Angela Brown Cleaning Channel, the Turnover Cleaning Tips channel, which is our Airbnb friends. We are streaming to the Realty Success Hub channel, which everybody out there that's getting ready to buy and sell a home this spring, this is for you. And then all of our Clutter Corner folks that have kind of like stacked stuff on their floors, hoping that mysteriously it will go away. Okay, it doesn't really mysteriously go away. But we do have all kinds of things that we're going to talk about today on how to keep our floors clean and what are the best tips and practices and techniques. Now, with me today is Shawn Rodeback, and he is a genius when it comes to all things floors. And he's working with the ChemDry company right now. So I want him to jump in and share all of his insider secrets. And I want to invite you guys to ask your questions in the comments on the side here. And I'm going to throw up as many of them as I possibly can. And we're going to get as many of your questions answered today. So please help me welcome Shawn Rodeback. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I am a little bit of a legend in my own mind, so it plays out pretty well for me.
Well, you're a legend in my mind as well.
Oh,
so
sweet.
Having
There's one more.
There's one more, yes. So there are lots and lots of questions we have about flooring. I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to let you start and tell us a little bit about the importance of floor cleaning, and then we'll get into specifics on those.
Absolutely. Well, look, I've been in the industry for literally 42 years. I started when I was 15 years old, and I was a technician cleaning carpets. And so I've seen a lot of it out there. And then here at corporate at ChemDry for almost 28 years. So I mean, the importance of cleaning carpet. Look, it's one of the most expensive pieces of your home, right? On the inside of your home. And so you want to take that investment and you want it to last as long as it can. But not only that, it's also important not to just get the longevity out of it, but you want it to look good while it lasts long as well. And then there's another aspect to that of not just looking good, but people don't just clean for the appearance, they also clean for health. So the indoor environment is very important to us. We put a lot of emphasis on that and making sure that the house stays clean on the inside, that the carpet stays clean is very important for your health. Think of it this way. The carpet is like a filter. And with any filter you have, you either have to clean it or you have to replace it. Well, we can't be replacing our carpets every year. So the best thing to do is make sure that we have it professionally cleaned throughout the life of that carpet. And so that's going to help the indoor environment.
Let's talk about carpet for a second, because carpet is a collector of dust. And sometimes you can't see the dust. But I get the comment a lot from folks where they're like, hey, I've got so many allergies and my eyes are watering. And there's just, so then they want to remove their carpet, not knowing that it's collecting dust and it's just a great big, flat surface, which gravity pulls it down to the ground. Can you tell us about the health issues a little bit more? Because you just mentioned those.
Absolutely. And so there is this misconception that carpet is bad for people who have allergies, right? But it's actually a great thing because just like you mentioned, it collects that substance, and then you have to have it professionally cleaned to pull that stuff out. So especially people that spend time in a home that suffer from allergies, there's a lot of allergens that are in there, the dirt and the soil, the dust, all that kind of stuff. It's also important for the homeowner themselves to make sure that they do their part, not just the professional cleaner that may be coming in every so often. And also even for the health of the home, with the ChemDry process, we actually have a product that we can put on that carpet that actually helps to neutralize those allergens and makes it even more effective for us to remove those allergens from the carpet. So having your carpets professionally cleaned often is a really good thing. And actually, a carpet is the better flooring surface than a hard surface is, because the dust will fall down to the floor. You walk through that room, that airflow kicks the dust and the debris and the allergens back up into the air. And that's when it gets into our breathing zone and creates problems for us.
And that's if we don't have carpet.
That's if we don't have carpet. So carpet is great because it traps it and it holds it.
So a minute ago, you mentioned that homeowners have a responsibility for maintaining their floors between professional cleanings. Tell us about that.
One of the best things that a homeowner could do is periodic vacuum cleaning. So most carpet manufacturers and the CRI, the Carpet and Rug Institute, they recommend that carpets be vacuumed at least a minimum of once a week. Right. And that's even, they go so far as to say you need to be using a vacuum that has a beater bar with bristles, because that vibration helps break that dirt loose so that it can be easy to vacuum out of the carpet. And then also, when you vacuum at least once a week, make sure that you're replacing the bag when it's no more than a half to 2/3 full, because that means it's going to run at its optimum performance. Once that bag gets too full, then now your airflow is cut down considerably. So vacuuming once a week is extremely important for the consumer. Now, that also depends on how much traffic you have, right? Mm-hmm. So in some commercial accounts, you may be vacuuming every single day because you have a lot of high traffic coming through that facility. But it's the same thing with the home. If you have a lot of pets that are in the home, if you have a lot of children that are in the home, then it's really good. Maybe you have to vacuum your carpets maybe twice a week, not just once a week, and be methodical about it too. A lot of times what people will do is they'll grab the vacuum cleaner and they'll just go really quick over the floor. Well, that's not giving that vacuum enough time to pull the soil and the dirt and the allergens out of that carpet into that vacuum cleaner. And one more important aspect for the vacuum cleaner is to have a vacuum cleaner that has microfiltration. If you don't have that microfiltration, what you're doing is pulling it off of the carpet and throwing it right back into the air and where we're going to be breathing it.
I've noticed that some of the less expensive vacuums on the market have a little wind pocket in the back where you vacuum and it just blows stuff right out the back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's so useful, but it looks good
not.
for a minute. So the sealed vacuums, I think, are important. And I think you're talking about the HEPA filtration. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. That is correct. Yeah, some microfiltration, whether it is the bag or a filter by the exhaust that is collecting all that debris and not allowing it to go right back up into the air. So when you turn your vacuum on, and if it's one of those bag vacuums and it goes poof, and you see dust flying out of it, you probably should replace your vacuum.
Your vacuum or your vacuum bag?
Your vacuum, because the disposable bag is not going to blow that dust.
Okay.
There's some other vacuums that have these, especially in the commercial market, they have a dirt cup at the bottom of it and then just a cloth bag that's on the top. And so those really don't have any great filtration systems. So sorry, I should have specified the open cloth bag, but they do make disposable bags for other vacuum cleaners that have that HEPA type or microfiltration.
Now, you mentioned when your bag is half full, replace it. Is that also true for a canister vacuum where you just empty it out at the end? And I did like this, and most of them don't do like this. Most of them, you punch the little button and it comes out the bottom. But you would also empty those when they're half full?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that air is escaping somewhere through that vacuum process. And so you just have that continual airflow of all that debris that's in that canister. And so it's important to empty that out periodically as well.
Is there a reason that we should vacuum twice a week if we have high traffic versus only once a week if we don't have high traffic?
Well, yeah, if you have high traffic, especially a lot of cats and dogs with the dander and different things that can, come off of the animals, you've got a lot of material that's being dropped on that carpet over a, 7-day time frame. And so if the more you have entering the home, the more often you need to vacuum your carpet. So it's kind of a guessing game to determine how much traffic do I have, what type of traffic do I have, to determine whether you need to vacuum once a week or twice a week, or sometimes 3 and 4 times a week.
So don't just wait until you visibly see stuff on the ground.
In most cases, and not just vacuuming, but also professional cleaning, the biggest challenge is consumers typically wait too long to vacuum the carpet, right? Then what happens is all that soil gets built up and it's causing damage to the fiber. It's also causing damage to us or anybody that suffers from allergies because that gets kicked up into the air. It's estimated that about 70+% of the soil that's in carpet is insoluble soil. What that means is soil that you can't break down, soil that you can't change from a solid to a liquid. And that is easier to get out before you get the carpet wet. So vacuuming first, and that's one of the things that we do in the ChemDry brand, is we always, whether the customers pre-vacuum the carpet or not, we always pre-vacuum the carpet to try to remove as much of those insoluble soils, because they're easier to get out dry than wet.
All right, we have a question from a viewer, and I think we're moving into some shampooing questions.
Okay.
So I love this. Sylvia says, and hi Sylvia, how you doing? Good to see you. She says, I was told to use only hot water to shampoo my carpets. I used to have carpets done professionally, and I'm still pulling suds out of carpets. Only 2 people in the home, no pets. What advice do you have for Sylvia?
So one of the biggest challenges for a consumer, if they're trying to do it themselves, is identifying what types of products to use. In the industry, even the professional carpet cleaners, if I were just to say your standard steam cleaners or hot water extraction companies, most of them are using a soap, detergent, or surfactant to help clean the carpet. And they're great cleaning products, right? But what happens is if you don't extract and remove that all out of the carpet, you're going to leave a dirt attracting residue in the carpet. And that's just going to resoil that carpet really, really fast. Now, the great thing about ChemDry is we don't use soaps, detergents, or surfactants in our cleaning solution. We use crystal clear CO2, carbonation, as our dirt releasing agent. So when we clean a carpet, it stays cleaner longer because we're not leaving those soaps or surfactants behind that will attract soil. So for a consumer, if they're trying to do it themselves, it's really hard to find a product out there that doesn't contain some type of surfactant that could leave a dirt attracting residue on the carpet.
All right, so carbonation to clean your carpet. Is that why mineral spirits that's carbonated picks up stains and stuff like that, because of the activated CO2?
Yeah, the mineral water, right? The carbonation, the bubbles literally help, and they're active. They help to explode the soil off of the fiber, and then it makes it easier to remove that. Matter of fact, that's how ChemDry started. This was way back in the day. The founder of ChemDry was on a plane, got something on a shirt, and they used club soda on the shirt to try to get that spot out. And so he's like, hey, I should develop a product, coming from carbonation and use that as my cleaner or my dirt releasing agent. And we're still using carbonation today to clean carpets.
What an ingenious idea. Okay, so if a customer was going to have you come to their house, what do they have to do to prepare their carpets before you come do the process where you use your HEPA filtration system and you do the dry vacuuming and then you do the carbonation or the club soda approach?
Yeah, well, so when we get there, it'd be great to have any debris removed from the carpet, anything that you could move yourself. Let me give you an example. There might be a dining room table with some smaller chairs around it. If those chairs can be moved out into the kitchen or somewhere like that, if there's newspapers, magazines, or anything like that sitting on the floor, it's best to remove those. There are certain things that we can't remove. An example would be entertainment centers, pianos, bookshelves, TV stands, those types of things. Some of the smaller items we can move, say a coffee table or maybe an end table. But we also ask that if there's any breakable items on those coffee tables or end tables, to remove them off just to make it safer for us. But they don't have to pre-vacuum. that's something that we do as part of our cleaning process.
All right. So what about things like empty Amazon boxes and things like that that maybe are just kind of cluttering up the space? Do you guys declutter anything, or do we need to have all that stuff removed and in a safe place before you guys get there? Or what's the
Yeah,
process?
we don't declutter any homes. We're going in there and we're going to clean carpets. And in most cases, the consumer is saying, "Hey, I don't need you to remove any of these bigger items. I just would like you to clean around them." The problem with having maybe an Amazon box sitting right next to where we're cleaning, we're obviously getting the carpet a little bit wet. And we wouldn't want that water to go over into that box, because if that carpet gets wet underneath that box and there's any printing, box numbers or anything like that, that could transfer onto the carpet. So really, it's important to declutter it before we even get to the home.
Well, you bring up a really good point, because I know sometimes we become clutter blind or house blind to the stuff that's in our house. And because we can walk around it, we assume you can also clean around it. And so what beyond Amazon boxes, what other kinds of things should we remove? Is it laundry baskets? Is it shoes, clothes, backpacks? Like, what all the stuff do we need to have out of the way before you guys come?
Yeah,
And I
shoot.
know I know it would be obvious, but it's not so obvious when it's our
Okay.
own home and we see all this stuff every day. And so we're just used to it sitting there for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, you just mentioned them there. Clothes, shoes, baskets, any bottles, any packages, anything like that. It's best to remove that, pick that up off the carpet. Things like a couch or maybe a love seat, a chair, recliner. We can work with that, whether it's going around it or we can even move it. The other thing that we do is we make sure that we're not going to cause any other damage to the carpet. So what we would do is we would take either styrofoam blocks or plastic tabs, and if we're putting a couch back on a wet carpet, we'll put those plastic tabs under there. Or if it's a recliner that has one of those flat bases to it that sits completely flat on the floor, we'll put some of those styrofoam blocks underneath those to allow air to get underneath there so it can dry out. But the clutter would be things like you had mentioned, the boxes, the cans, any bottles, clothes, those types of things. Have that removed from the room to create an open area for us to be able to work in. We're bringing in decent sized pieces of equipment into the home. We're going to have hoses that are running from maybe the front door or a piece of equipment at the front door through the home. And so just kind of think through that. Where's that hose going to be going through there? And I don't want to be
Upstairs and in hallways and stuff like that.
exactly. And
Clean
so
all that stuff.
we'll use corner guards and everything to protect the home, but it is helpful when that homeowner can really protect their items that are inside the home, even lamps that might be sitting on the floor. If we're not going to be cleaning under them, if they can be tucked all the way back, or sometimes we'll even take a couch and scoot it all the way back to the wall just so we can get closer to that main traffic area that's right in front of that couch to get that cleaned up.
So we have several questions coming in, but I want to
Mhm.
ask a question before we get to those questions. And I want to say hi to all you guys that are asking questions. Thank you so much. This is exciting, and I'm super glad for everybody that is joining us today on the watch live, and then also our replay when this is over. But one of my questions is, when we're talking about moving stuff aside, and you mentioned the Amazon boxes, how water can seep in. I know a lot of do-it-yourselfers will use a product from the grocery store where they rent a machine, and then not knowing the process, they'll get too close to the baseboard sometimes. And some of the modern baseboards that we've noticed while we're cleaning, and I say cleaning, house cleaning, have become warped because the homeowner did not realize that it's not real wood. It's like a pressed wood, or almost like a cardboard
Yep.
baseboard. And so then they use those machines, the do-it-yourself machines, and it warps those baseboards, and then they've got to completely be replaced because they look awful. And if you don't, especially those of you that are buying and selling homes this year, pay attention to the fact that some of those are not water leaks. It's simply that somebody doing it yourself with the carpet cleaning, trying to take the cheap route, ruined all the baseboards, and then it would have been cheaper in the end to hire the professional that knows what they're doing and can manage that so that you don't have to replace all those in your homes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And those machines that you rent from the supermarkets and stuff like that, they just don't have a large enough vacuum to extract that moisture. So you're putting a lot of product down, and especially that's where sometimes the animal goes, right? They'll go right next to that baseboard. So it may not just be the cleaning fault. It may just be that there's so much urine that's gotten onto the carpet in that area. It swells that particle board, the MDF, whatever you want to call it. It swells it up. Once it swells up, it does not shrink back to its original shape. So you do really need to be careful anytime you're cleaning a carpet to not use too much moisture that can get under there. And it doesn't, you don't have to be spraying the moisture under there. That carpet is like a sponge. So even if you're a short distance away from the wall, water can still get there because it's going to travel and absorb that wet area is going to travel into the dry area, get underneath that baseboard, and you could end up with some problems like that.
Thank you for explaining that, because I think it's really tempting sometimes to take what we think is the cheap route. And I say the cheap route, meaning, you're going to spend $30. So you go rent the machine and then you're like, whoa, it's another $30 for the cleaner. Whoa, didn't see that coming. Oh, the attachments are another $15.
Yeah.
By the time you rent all the stuff and you get home, you could have easily have hired a professional.
And not to mention all the sweat and the aching muscles after you're done in trying to take care of all of that is quite a pain.
Yeah. All right. So we have a couple of questions that have come in, and I'm super excited for some of these. Hogan's Heroes says, does a good professional cleaner have some sort of certification?
Yeah, there's different certifications out there. With ChemDry, we have our own certification. It's called the 5-star certification, and our technicians take that course. It's on our ChemDry University, and they are trained to be able to go into a home, identify the type of fiber they're dealing with, because it could be a natural fiber, it could be wool, it could be the 3 synthetic fibers that are really, really common, which is olefin, polyester, and nylon. And each one of them, believe it or not, reacts differently to cleaning solutions that are out there. And so a trained professional can come in and say, okay, this is a nylon carpet. These are the pros and cons for the nylon carpet. These are the types of pre-sprays that I'm going to be using to try to get the most out of, or most soil out of that carpet, and also be safe for it. For a typical homeowner, chances are you may not even know what type of carpet that you have. And so you're just going to go grab something off of the shelf that may not be the right type of product. There's also, if you get onto the internet and you start searching around, there's a lot of bad information out there for homeowners to use. I'll give you an example. If you search up how to remove some of these spots that are in carpet, one of the common suggestion is to mix up vinegar and water and use that as your cleaner. Well, the problem with that is vinegar can take certain types of dyes and set them in the carpet. So let's say you've spilled some Kool-Aid or some wine or something like that, and you're trying to clean it up with this vinegar and water mixture, you could actually set the stain. So you want to be careful with some of the things that you hear or see on the internet. It's probably better off to call a professional and let them give you an advice on what you can do to try to take care of it yourself.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I see all kinds of things on TikTok and on the internet, and I'm going to call them armchair consultants that are giving us their 2 cents without taking into consideration pH balances and
Right.
mixing chemicals and all kinds of things, that when I see them, when I hear them, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to void the warranty of your carpet. Stop right there. Don't do it. And, people are passing it off as good advice. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Even friends, right? Friends, trying to be helpful, where you might have an olefin carpet and I might have a nylon carpet, and you might say, oh yeah, I use Clorox bleach to clean out this spot. Well, you can probably do that on olefin, but if you use that on a nylon carpet, you're going to bleach out the color of the carpet. And so people are meaning well, but without all the information, you can actually cause harm to the carpet.
And I'm so glad you brought that up. I know that during the pandemic, I had unlimited number of calls from churches and different businesses that would say, we just had a cleaner camp come in and they took bleach. And I'm not knocking bleach, because bleach has it certainly has its purposes. Sure. But they took bleach and they put it all over our flooring and all over our church pews and all over the wood. And they left it there for 10 minutes to disinfect. I'm like, no, bleach didn't change its chemical composition just because there was a pandemic. It still will take the color out and it will destroy some of your surfaces if left on there for 10 minutes undiluted. No, don't do it. Don't do it. So I'm really grateful for conversations like this where we can actually learn. And Judy seconds that. Judy says, I really appreciate this type of education. I've learned a lot. So thank you, Judy, for joining us. And thank you, Shawn, for giving us the advice. Random person says, weird. I know the stuff that we're learning, so weird. Elizabeth said, I just Googled ChemDry near me and wanted to confirm that this is you guys, because you own that phrase and it's a question mark. Very timely video for me. And so I'm guessing that it's not, do you own the phrase, but it's part of a franchise, right? ChemDry is a...
It is part of a franchise organization, right? So the ChemDry name, only a ChemDry franchise would be able to use that name. So if you do Google it, you could even go to chemdry.com. You could even, there's a zip code locator, so you can throw in your zip code and it will identify whether there's a franchise that is in your market. And you'll be able to phone them up if you choose to use one of the ChemDry franchises.
And we have a question that came in. What are the main advantages of the ChemDry over traditional steam cleaning?
So loaded question. There's a lot of information. I think it's really good to cover this. So your traditional steam cleaning, or nobody really cleans with steam, the proper term is actually hot water extraction. And so that is a process that is recommended and almost required by all carpet manufacturers. So in order for you to maintain your warranty on your carpet, you have to have it cleaned, professionally cleaned, once every 12 to 18 months. So what that hot water does is it can flush that soil out real well, but also that heat helps that fiber to regain part of its twist. So it helps the longevity of the carpet to look better because those fibers don't lose as much of their twist. So hot water extraction is great because that's what most of the carpet manufacturers recommend and require. I think the differences between ChemDry and steam cleaning or hot water extraction is we're a very low moisture system, yet we're still in the category of hot water extraction, or we actually call it hot carbonating extraction, right? Because we're using carbonation in our cleaning solution. And so we use about a tenth of the moisture that most steam cleaners use. Also, pressure is important. For us, we're using about 120 to 150 pressure. What that means is as we're spraying solution onto the carpet, or as a steam cleaner spraying water onto the carpet, that's the force of that water coming down onto that carpet, 150 PSI. Where steam cleaners are a minimum of about 450 to all the way up to 850, 900 PSI. So you can imagine with that much force and pressure, that water is not just going in the face fibers, it's going into the backing. It possibly could even going into the padding of the carpet and the subfloor of the carpet, depending on how many times they go over that. And so using that natural and those carbonating bubbles, it actually creates a buoyancy where it stays up in the carpet fibers, where that's where we want to clean it. We want to get under the carpet and try to clean it. And so our carpets dry a lot quicker. The quicker you can have that carpet dry, the less of a chance you have for reappearing stains, less of a chance you have for wicking, where something that's in the padding starts to wick up that wet fiber now, and it puts that spot back on the tops of the fibers. We kind of have a guarantee in ChemDry that if a spot comes back, so do we, free of charge.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so there's a lot of other advantages. An advantage would be the way we actually protect a carpet. So we can take a carpet that came from the factory, was protected, but over time, it's some of that's worn off just with normal traffic that goes through the home. And we can actually bring it back to factory-like condition and put a protectant on there. And we do that through what we call a co-application process. So steam cleaning will typically, maybe not even typically, always will clean the carpet and then put a protectant on afterwards. So spray it onto the top of the fiber. Well, unfortunately, that only gets to the tips of the fibers, where our co-application process is we're cleaning and protecting the carpet at the same time. So wherever that cleaning solution goes, that's where the carpet is being protected. And there's no additional dry times when we protect a carpet. With the hot water extraction process, the dry time alone for cleaning is a really long time. Now, if you put on the protectant, now it's going to take even 4 to 6 hours longer for that carpet to dry. But with our co-application process, there's no additional dry times. And the carpets will dry in a couple hours versus in some cases with hot water extraction, it might even be a couple days before it can dry.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because if we go back to the homeowner doing it themselves with the rental machine at the grocery, it's very difficult sometimes to know how much water you actually put into the carpet.
Yeah.
And so getting it out, many homeowners don't have extraction machines that are appropriate, and they don't have any fans, and they don't have any, water meters or moisture meters or whatever it is to know how much moisture is still there. And so it's one of the risks that I really advise homeowners against. This is one of the largest areas of our home that's covered. And so I recommend that we not do it ourselves for so many reasons. And one of the reasons that I recommend professional house cleaners turn that project away and go directly to the professionals for carpet cleaning. Because we get asked a lot, like, hey, my dog, had an accident on the floor. Do you guys do carpet cleaning? And a well-intending house cleaner that is not trained in carpet cleaning, oftentimes to get the job or to make the customer happy, and it comes from a good place of wanting to do right by the customer, they're like, oh, sure, I can do that for you, when in fact we can't. It's a different specialty, and we're not trained, and we don't have the machines and the equipment that someone with 100-foot hose or extractions or fans or whatever would have to do that job. And
you're exactly right. We even, on some of our equipment that we're using, it's patented proprietary equipment and has what we call amplified extraction technology to it, which allows us to remove more moisture. So it's not just a big vacuum motor that's either in the truck or in a portable unit. It is actually that machine that's making contact with the carpet has that amplified extraction. And that's what gives us our, couple hour dry times on after we get done cleaning the carpet.
Let's talk for a second about carpets that may not have like the really thick carpet pads, like maybe an oriental rug or a entry rug or something like that. Is it possible to steam clean those or to do, what's the term? Is it steam clean or dry
I think
clean,
most people still use the term steam cleaning. It's just may not be the most correct word, but I think most people know it as steam cleaning. Or I think it was maybe Judy, I can't remember her name, mentioned that it was hot water extraction.
Hot water extraction.
So I think hot water extraction is the more true name, because people really don't clean with steam cleaning.
Okay. So can we use that to clean oriental rugs, or is that off limits?
Well, the equipment is not as important as the cleaning solution itself. So an example would be a lot of area rugs have wool fibers.
Uh-huh.
So wool likes to be more on the acidic side of solution than it does on the neutral or the high pH solution. So can you use the same cleaning solution? Maybe, right? Because all area rugs are different. On one, you might be able to use water. Another one, if you use water on it, the colors bleed like crazy, right? So one of the things that a professional will do is they will test for color fastness on the rug itself, or it might even be upholstery or something like that. And even a product that we would have for cleaning up spots or spills on the carpet, there's information on the back of it that says you need to try and test this in an inconspicuous area to make sure that there's not going to be any adverse effects. And it's not necessarily that the product is causing the problem, it's just moisture in general that is causing the problem for some of these area rugs. So be really, really careful. One of the things that I would do as a homeowner, if I wanted to clean up spots myself, I would pull the carpet back or the rug back, expose some of those fibers that are on the underneath side. And that's where I would do my test with, I would take a white terry cloth towel, put some of the cleaner on the back side of it, press my thumb into it and hold it for at least 60 seconds, and then check and see if you have any color transferring in there. Right? If you don't have any color transferring, you're probably okay using it on the top of the carpet. And even if it does bleed in your test area, it's on the back of the carpet, not the top of the carpet.
Right. So you haven't ruined your carpet
That's
yet.
right. And
I love
then
it.
an example would be if you're doing the same thing with upholstery is take that seat cushion off and right back by the zipper area, that's where you can test the fabric there to see if it's color fast. And if it does bleed, it's always tucked back into the couch and nobody ever sees it anyways.
Even if you flip the cushions.
Even if you flip the cushions, it's back there by the zipper and it's not going to show.
What a great idea, that put it back there by the zipper where it's invisible on either side. I love that. Let's talk about upholstery for a second, because I know a lot of people have pets, and the pets will climb up on the upholstery, and sometimes they have accidents on the upholstery, and sometimes it's on the carpet. So is upholstery cleaned the same way as carpet, for example?
It's a little bit different. You may be able to use the same cleaning solution, but it's a completely different method, because even if you rent the box store machine, you're not going to be setting that up on top of the couch and trying to clean with it, but it's more of a handheld device, an upholstery tool that you're using to apply the cleaning solution and extract it from the upholstery. And so as long as you're dealing with a neutral pH cleaning solution, that would be the safest one to be testing with it. But if you had like a high pH, and there's different window cleaners that have high pH, low pH, different things, you want to try to stay in the neutral range, because that's the safest place to be. So a little bit different. There's a lot more elbow grease when it comes to cleaning upholstery. It's a little bit more difficult. There's a little bit more risk that's involved with upholstery, because most of the carpet wall to wall out there today is a synthetic. And those are pretty easy to try to treat and take care of. But a lot of our upholstery today is on the cotton side. And so cotton or natural fibers, that's where you really need to be careful, because dyes aren't as stable in a natural fiber as they are in a synthetic fiber. So using a slightly acidic product on a natural fiber is the safest place to be. And so for a homeowner, the do-it-yourself, it's very risky on upholstery, more risky on upholstery than it is on carpet. And so hiring a professional to do the upholstery cleaning is something that I would highly recommend, because again, that professional knows how to test for the fabric to identify natural versus synthetic, and then they know which product to use. On upholstery, one of the challenges for a homeowner would be is homeowners don't have a lot of options to buy a solvent-based cleaner, right? With upholstery, on the armrests, on the headrests, that's where a lot of skin contact is. So you're getting a lot of oils that get on the fabric. Well, there's a term that like dissolves like. If you have a water-based spot, you need to use a water-based cleaner to remove it. If you have an oil-based spot, you need to use a solvent-based cleaner to remove it. And so for a ChemDry professional, we know which products are solvent versus water-based, and we know which product is going to be the most effective on those armrests, on those headrests, or even on the front of the couch where the cat or the dog just keeps rubbing against, well, all the natural oils from that cat or dog get onto that fabric. And then the dust just really collects real fast because of that dirt attracting residue that's on that upholstery.
You know, as a house cleaner, we've seen exactly that. I'm glad you brought it up. The headrests where people have
Mhm.
hair gel or hairspray in their
Mhm.
hair. Then they put their head up against the side of the couch. And then there will just be like this little pouch of like hard, crunchy stuff.
Right, right, right.
How often should we be cleaning our upholstery in that area and then also on the armrests where we sweat and have, you know, oils from suntan lotion and skin lotion and moisturizing lotion and all that stuff rubbing off on our furniture?
Yeah, well, and that's a little bit harder than carpet, right? Carpet is once every 12 to 18 months, sometimes even more often than that. Upholstery, you can probably go a little bit longer, right? Because upholstery still doesn't take the abuse that carpet does when we're walking on the carpet. But I think a rule of thumb is probably every 2 to 3 years would be good to, kind of have your upholstery cleaned.
Okay. We have a specific question here, and this is from no, this is Linda who says, when I think of how we used vinegar and food coloring to dye Easter eggs as children, I can see how vinegar would set stains. Yes,
Bingo.
Linda, that's what what we're talking about. And
Bingo.
Otto says, how often should carpets be cleaned with 2 people, no pets, and very little dust? I also ask people to remove their shoes and provide socks if necessary. Thank you.
So
Anne, before he answers this, Anne, I want to say that I want to come to your house because it sounds like your house is really clean.
yeah. Even with that, I still have to go back to the carpet manufacturers. They don't make any, it doesn't matter whether it's really heavily soiled or you can't even see soil at all. They're simply saying that a carpet has to be cleaned once every 12 to 18 months. So I still think you're in that same range, even though it just might be, 2 people in the home, no kids, no pets or anything like that. You'd actually be very, very surprised to see how much soil does get in the air and drops down into the carpet, even with just 2 people. Because as you're walking around, you're shedding tons of skin, of hair, and that ends up in the carpet, and professionally cleaning helps to remove that.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because every time we open our door to go outside or our garage door, there's airborne, whatever is in the air coming into our homes. And right now, I live in North Carolina. And so right now, at this particular time of the year, we have this thing called pollen. And so if you happen to open your windows and doors and you're just getting some fresh air, my goodness, that stuff is coming right in. And if you're not careful and if you don't monitor it really, really carefully, you can have a thin layer of just yellow dust all over your televisions and your remote controls and your PlayStations and your computers and your piano keyboards and your bookshelves and all that stuff. So we literally warn our customers, if you live in this region, do close your windows. And when you're going outside, go outside. Don't be leaving the doors open for hours at a time because it's just nice, fresh air. Because there's a price to pay. And that stuff settles in your carpet and your upholstery and your drapes and all this stuff. And it's kind of sticky. And so it's not a happy time of year at all for removing that stuff from your home. And so I'm not trying to scare you guys, but yet I am, yet I am. Yeah.
Yeah. You brought up a little bit ago of, pet accidents and stuff like that. The majority of households today have some type of a pet in them. If you've got pets, I'm pretty sure you've got some pet urine that's in the carpet. One of the best things for, to help prevent this from creating more problems is when you notice it, try to blot it out. Okay, so that's using paper towels. And I recommend paper towels that don't have any coloring on it, because who knows if that coloring is going to transfer onto the carpet. Or using a white terry cloth towel, not a black one or a blue one or a red one, because that color could transfer into your carpet and stain the carpet. So we would recommend, if you have a wet dry vacuum, that would be phenomenal, where you could put some warm water on there, extract it out of the carpet, and that does a really, really good job. Or blotting it out with that paper towel or a white terry cloth towel. One of the biggest challenges that you have with pet urine is the odor, right?
Mhm.
And if you leave that urine in there, not only do you have odor, but you've got bacteria there as well. Well, ChemDry has a PERT process. PERT stands for Pet Urine Removal Treatment.
Mm.
And that with that PERT process, we can guarantee odor removal.
Wow.
Okay. There have been homes that we've gone into where there are literally, this might gross you out, 75 spots upstairs, 65 spots downstairs. And even a situation like that, we can guarantee odor removal.
I want to stop right there. As we're recording this right now, we are sneaking up on Mother's Day. For those of you that have elder mothers who have elder dogs and cats, sometimes as the elder animals advance in age, they have more accidents than is common. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, to consider, and this is not sponsored or anything, I'm just saying it's a great Mother's Day gift to get the mother's carpets professionally cleaned, because it is embarrassing for adults who are not able to do the frequent cleaning and blotting and all the things that we're talking about. It's embarrassing for them to have people come over to their homes and their homes smell like animal odor. And then they're embarrassed to have people over. And that's the time when they need help the most, when the elder parents are seniors and their pets are seniors. And so I want us to be very sensitive to the fact that this is a great Mother's Day gift, and maybe an ongoing treatment program where we can help that pet age through its final days without just an embarrassing situation for both the pet and its owner.
Yeah, that's great.
So I got a quick question for you then. When it comes to removing odors from your house, you said 75 spots upstairs and 65 downstairs, or vice versa. If you are a pet owner and you have lots of different recurring spots and you are physically able to get down on the floor and to blot them up and things like that, how often would you say you still need professional cleaning from a carpet cleaner? I'm guessing it's more than just every 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, so I would recommend that you might be at the 6 to 9 month cleaning range, right? And again, that depends on how often your animal is going to the bathroom on the carpet. You know, whether it's a puppy and you're trying to train the puppy, those types of things. It's important to not leave that in there. Now, if you're able to rinse it out with water and you have a wet dry vacuum, you could probably wait the 12 months to then have it turned around and treated to get rid of all of the odor from that spot.
Are there certain areas of a home that need more cleaning than others?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the high traffic areas. So that would be a hallway. One of the reasons why it's high traffic is it's a narrow 3 foot wide, roughly, hallway, and you're walking right down the middle of that carpet. Stairs take a beating. So maybe having those cleaned more often. If you spend a lot of time in your living room or family room or that dining room, those would be considered high traffic areas. And then maybe if you have an upstairs or a basement or something like that, that doesn't get as much traffic, you could go a little bit longer with that.
And you mentioned dining areas. I personally am one of those people that I like to have a nice, pleasant environment when I eat, but cleaning up as a professional house cleaner underneath people's dining room tables is just a sight for sore eyes in so many homes. How do we keep the carpet underneath the dining area clean?
Well, and it's just spot cleaning, right? So anytime you drop something, try to remove as much material as you can before you use any cleaner. So if you spilled a bowl of mac and cheese
Spaghetti.
or
Okay.
spaghetti, you know, you can take a blunt object like a spoon or something like that and try to scoop as much of that off of the surface as you can. And then you can start adding moisture, whether it's water or a cleaner or something like that, to then try to either blot the spot out or extract it out with a wet dry vacuum.
Awesome.
And what's funny is animals seem to love under the dining room table, especially when there's a rug under a dining room table. For whatever reason, these animals love to go there. Maybe they think they're being sneaky and nobody can see them because the table is above them. But that seems to be one of their favorite spots.
Well, and I think sometimes in some households, the owners are like, I didn't want to eat this, so I'll give it to my pet, and
Good
the pet's
point.
like chewing on it down there, and there's food and pet residue and pet dander and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Can
good
you
point.
talk to us real briefly about people that have pet dander issues? I know that pet dander, you mentioned we have skin that flakes off of our
Mhm.
bodies, but there's also pet dander that comes from pets. And so how do we manage that while we're trying to manage our carpet and our upholstery cleaning?
Yeah. So again, vacuuming is extremely important. Bathing your animal is important as well. But if you have a lot of pets in the home, then I would say you're probably more than once a week in your vacuuming. And it's not only that. We live with dust mites, and
Mhm.
there's two protein allergens that these dust mites leave behind, called the DERP1 and the DERF one. These are known triggers for people who have asthma. So it's not just the dander, but there's a lot of other things that need to be removed from the carpet as quickly as possible. So that periodic vacuuming, whether it's 3 times a week, whether it's once a week, making sure that you're vacuuming well and slow, right? Not speed vacuuming, but you're going at a decent medium pace back and forth in the same spot, and then you move over and go back and forth as well. That would be really important for anybody that is suffering from allergies and they're finding that in their home. Quite often you can go over to your couch, if it's a cloth couch, and you slap that pillow. And what do you see after you slap that pillow? Yeah, you see this billow of dust coming up. Well, that's all of the protein allergens, the skin cells, the all this stuff we're talking about is sitting in that bloom of dust now that just got out into the air. So even periodically vacuuming your furniture is really important, and that may even be on a bi-monthly or every 3 months or something like that. It's easy to see the dust settle on the coffee table, right? You see it and you dust it off. Well, that same amount of dust landed on your couch. You don't see it, and then it gets ground down into the material even further because then we sit on it and everything. So vacuuming with the right vacuum is extremely important for the indoor environment, for the health of the indoor, and even the appearance of both carpet and upholstery.
I just love you. Thank you for all of this wonderful tips and advice. But you just triggered another question for
Okay.
me. You talked about when you go and you fluff the pillows and the dust goes scattering. How about area rugs? And you're vacuuming the area rugs, and sometimes you lift them up to move them. There's a tendency to want to shake them. Do you shake them indoors or outdoors? Or what do you do when there's crumbs and bits of this and that, and it's not coming up off the carpet and you need to give it a good shake? Where and how do you do that?
I would definitely take it outside, right? Because you don't want to throw that back into the air inside your home. If some people will have clotheslines or something like that. If you can hang it over and then beat that area rug with a stick, that does a great job in really getting all of that debris out. If you wanted to keep it in the home, one of the things that you could do is you could take the area rug, vacuum the top of it, flip it over, vacuum the back of it, and then before you flip it right over, make sure if there's any debris that fell down on that hard surface, whether it was tile, wood floor, or something like that, sweep that off first, lay the rug back down so it's face up, and then vacuum the front again. So you're really vacuuming that area rug 3 times to really get as much of that debris out as you can. You,
And
you
I'm
can't do that with a wall-to-wall carpet, but with an area rug, it sure is helpful.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because some high-rise apartments, there's nowhere to go out to shake the rugs. But if you have a house, for example, and you can go out, what we found has been very helpful as well. Instead of beating it with a stick, like if you're at a customer's home don't be beating it with a stick if you don't have one, but you can kick it with your foot, like go out and hold it like on the front steps and kick it with your foot, and you will see all the stuff, go out into the universe.
Yeah.
And it's not inside the customer's house. But I love, love, love the fact about vacuuming, flipping it over, vacuuming the floor underneath it, and then vacuuming again on top, so that you're getting it from all angles and getting as much of that stuff out of the carpet as possible.
Right.
Because those area rugs pick up a lot when people walk in, even if they take off their shoes, because a lot of people will step inside the house and that's where they take off the shoes, but they just brought in whatever was outside on the bottoms and the treads of their shoes inside. And also, when our pets run outside, our pets have little things on their furry paws, and they bring them back inside as they're just hopping through the door and nobody's looking, and they wander back in and track stuff in. So I love that.
That's great.
All right. So what advice would you give to our listeners as we wrap up our conversation today on how to keep their carpets the cleanest, and then where to go to find you if they're looking specifically for ChemDry help?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, we both play a role in this. The professional cleaner plays a role. The homeowner plays a role by making sure that you're vacuuming the carpet, cleaning up spills quickly. Certain spills and spots or stains might be better left for a professional. An example would be any ballpoint pens, permanent markers, those types of things that require a specialized product to try to remove them. If we're the first ones that get to try to remove that stain, our chances of removal are pretty darn high. As soon as a customer tries to remove it, it makes it a lot more difficult for us because they may have set that stain. And also think more of, this is not just cleaning for appearance. This really is cleaning for health, to try to maintain a good, healthy indoor environment. And we can be partners in that as a professional cleaner to help maintain a good indoor health. And if you wanted to reach out or find any of our ChemDry franchises in your area, you can go to chemdry.com and you can type in your zip code in the search locator, and you could find a franchise that's in your market or your area.
You mentioned when, and this was earlier in the conversation, after you guys are done cleaning, you have some kind of a protectant that you put on the carpet.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that if you were, like, let's say you're just moving into a house or you're selling a house and you're wanting to get it cleanest as possible and have the carpets last as long as possible, that you have them cleaned and then specifically request that there be some kind of a protectant put on there so that it prolongs the life of your carpet?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just me knowing what the Protectant is and how it works, I would never clean my house without putting Protectant on the carpet, right? I know it's a little bit of an additional cost, but it's definitely worth it. It does a couple different things. It actually helps your carpet from being permanently stained. So from like Kool-Aid, wines, different things like that, it helps do that, but it also helps your carpet to stay cleaner longer. And so Protectant, in my opinion, is a very, very good option. And anybody that might be selling a home or rentals or something like that, we have a product called Fresh and Free. It's a deodorizer, and it also helps to remove allergens, helps us to remove them and also neutralize those allergens. So those are two great options, not just going with a basic cleaning package, but that's an option, but really trying to understand what the customer's needs are personally and what the carpet's needs are. We ask a lot of questions to try to find that out and figure out what would be best for every single customer.
So the protectant to the carpet is similar to sealing the grout on your tile, for example. Is that kind of the same?
Very similar, yes. I mean, completely different, but the concept is very similar. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love this. I love this. This is so great. Shawn, I'm so glad you joined us today. This was so helpful, and I learned so much, and I know our listeners and our viewers did as well. I have one last comment here. Flora says, OMG, there's a ChemDry right in the town where I live in. Yay. Flora, Marina, I want to say yes, yay to all the people that have ChemDrys in their area, and yay to all of us to have Shawn Rodeback join us today here to give us all of this information. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you guys here same time, same place next week. And go to the notes below. We had a couple of questions we did not get to answer today. We're going to answer those after. And also all the information about Shawn is in the links below. I know, right?
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, you guys. This was fun.